We saw how to use the compress program. We did have to download it from the repositories online, and we also saw how to use the gzip program. It works in a roughly analogous form. So there's compress, uncompress.real, and there's also gzip and gunzip. And then we also saw how to compress using the bzip2 program, which uses a slightly different algorithm, and it does probably, of the three, that's got the best compression ratio. That is, we had a almost 20 megabyte file, and it bzip compressed it down to about 9 megabytes. Okay, so better than 50% in this case. It's not always the same. So let's, for example, try bzip2 on our file, which is not that big really. See if this even does anything. Sure. Okay, in this case we see that the file is actually bigger. Yes, the compressed file is actually bigger. So that does happen with small files. 82 bytes, that's pretty small. There's actually no reason to have to compress something like that. After compression is 83 bytes, so yeah, not that great compression, even though for large files bzip works better than most other things that we looked at so far. Actually everything that we looked at so far. So how do we uncompress this? You say bunzip to mybigfile.bz2 and do an ls -l. Sure enough, there is our 82 bytes. So we compressed this file. Once again, I just want to emphasize that probably for small files you want to use compress if you have it available. So if you use compress on mybigfile, you see that 82 byte file became 69 bytes. Good. If you use compress on this android.tar, it doesn't go down by that much, 25%. However, if you use gzip, it goes down by 50%. So you can use different algorithms for different tasks. I guess is the story here. So remember, if you want to uncompress it, you have to say uncompress.real. Okay, it will probably didn't emphasize this, but you probably figured out on your own that if you have a .z file and you uncompress it, that .z file is replaced by this the original. I guess you would say whatever .z file you have minus the .z. So you do that and you do an ls -l, and that .z file is gone. In its place you have mybigfile. Okay, and let's do the same thing and we'll time it. Time bunzip2, because we used that. We know that because of the file extension. bunzip2 android.tar.bz2. So let's time it. Of all the programs, bzip2 and bunzip2 are the slowest, but they are the most effective in that they give you the smallest compressed file size. So you can time them yourself. The others just took less than a second. This one takes longer. The file size is smaller. One last thing I want to talk about, I think I forgot to mention this for untarring. So let's say you had a gz file or a tar.gz file or a tar.bz2 file. The first thing you want to do is unzip it. So in the case of bz2, you use bunzip2. if we had a tar.gz file, you would use gunzip and same kind of thing. Now let's say you want to extract the contents of this tar file. Okay, so what we have now is this 20 megabyte file, and what you typically do is the safe thing to do, because you don't always know for sure how all the files will be extracted. Let's say you did something like this: tar minus extract this file, verbose mode. You do not want to do this because it just so happens there is an Android workspace file in this folder, and this tar extraction will cause this file to be overwritten. So I just know that because we created this tar file from this workspace file, Android workspace file. So here's what you do, and we did this before. We create a simple temporary file, temporary folder, cd to temp, and now we can, this is a lot safer, so now we can say tar minus extract verbose this file / so we go down one level, or you go, I guess you can also say you went up one level to the parent, and we get the Android and .tar file, and we extract it to here. This will work. So what this will do is, now that we are in this temp folder, it will extract this tar file into this current folder. And if you say ls, there it is. If we had done this in the parent directory, which is where we were, which is where android.tar is, then you would have clobbered this Android workspace. Instead, now you have it in this temp, and you can move it around. If you're sure you want to clobber this, you can remove this and move this one level down to the parent directory. So just do one thing, remove, and here's some options that you probably should not use all the time. Okay, so what this is going to do is remove recursively, very dangerous thing to do, but if you're on live DVD, that's fine. You can remove everything and just reboot and you'll be fine. And this says force, F, the F means force. That means even if you don't have permissions, just ignore that and go ahead and remove it anyway. Alright, so removes all of that stuff. So now if you do ls, it's not there. Let's try to run the tar command again. It'll work. The one thing I want to talk about is that the book says that you can extract in a verbose option with this file, that is android.tar, and it says that you can say that put the result in dot. This does not work. I think older or standard Unix versions of the tar command, actually this did work, but on our Linux live DVD system, this does not work. It'll give you an error message. So that's just something to know. This is normal. This is what it's supposed to do on our Linux system. So if you want to, what it's saying is that all of the arguments, if you use the F option, all of the arguments have to be tar files. And so when you say xvf and then you specify tar file and then you specify something else, that had better be a tar file, otherwise it's not going to work. So it's saying dot, it's not found. The other option is you can specify a specific directory inside this archive that you want to extract. So for example, you could try this, because we know that there is an Android workspace folder in there. Let's try that. That works. Okay, so slight difference in how tar works on the Linux DVD as opposed to the the version that's described in the book. So you have to be careful about any second. You cannot say, okay, extract it to here. No, that does not work. What you have to do is give it the name of a folder that exists in here or some other tar folder. I'm sorry, some other tar file. So dot does not work. If you know that there is an Android WS folder, directory inside this tar file, you can say that here, and then that'll work. Okay. So just to recap, we saw how to create a tar file. That's tar -c f, and then the name of the directory, and that'll create a tar file from that directory and all subdirectories to any number of levels. Creates a single file. In this case, it's a massive one. And then you can compress it down to about half its size using gzip or bzip2. So what you've effectively done is you've taken an entire set of files that you need, let's say, to do some work, and now you've made it very portable. You've made it one file instead of having directories and subdirectories and all that, which is hard to sort of manage. You can't easily move that around on the internet. So instead of trying to deal with that entire directory with subdirectories and files, you create a single file, compress it, and now you can send it anywhere. So extremely useful set of tools.